Heroes were not alone in this universe either. Franklin populated the world with recreations of his favorite heroes and foes. Kind of like a kid drawing pictures of his favorite TV shows and comic books. Some of these individuals were versions of the 616 counterparts, while others, like the Young Allies, were unique to this pocket universe. In the battle with Onslaught, the Hulk and Bruce Banner were split into two separate entities. Banner was transported to the pocket universe and became a new Hulk, while the Hulk entity remained on Earth 616. Later, the Celestials took notice. They are the ones who actually make planets and beings. They're actually born from planets too. They like plant their seeds, eggs, if you will, inside planets. They're not the tippy top brass. They're not God when it comes to the universe in Marvel, but they're definitely management in the terms of gods in Marvel. They were made by the one above all, who is absolutely aware of Franklin. And Franklin definitely got their attention. They refer to him as beyond Omega level mutant classification. They know him, and they had deemed his creation a threat to the cosmos. The celestial Ashema, the listener, confronted him and told him that he had to pick one. The greater multiverse could not sustain both of these realities existing on top of one another. So one had to be destroyed. Well, Franklin freaked out. The thought was too much for this child to handle. He just went through the worst trauma ever, and he hasn't exactly had a great childhood up until this point anyway. And now he has to decide, am I going to kill the OG Marvel universe, or am I going to kill the Heroes Reborn universe? Because this is what this continuity is called. It's called the Heroes Reborn. It was too much for him. And so he panics and he bolts. He's so panicked that he doesn't see this cliff and he plummets off of it. Ashema rescues him, but the only way she can rescue him, the only way she can save his life, is by merging consciousness with him. This actually gave Ashema, the listener, a new perspective on life and death, and she begins to change her views on humanity. With this new perspective, Ashema and Franklin actually broker a compromise to save both realities. Earth 616 heroes were able to return to their home reality, and Ashema used her own power to house Franklin's Counter-Earth, becoming its protector. Counter-Earth eventually was placed in orbit around Earth 616 on the opposite side of the sun, and then Marvel pretty much forgot it ever existed in the first place. Already, Franklin has had this insane and convoluted life. It couldn't get any crazier, right? Wrong. So wrong. In fact, this kid is just getting started. This is like just the beginning. Even though his powers are pretty depleted after the Heroes Reborn event, Franklin still has some juice. Did you want more? Because there's more. How about helping his mom get pregnant and resurrecting a dead Galactus? After your character is shown to be nigh all-powerful and resurrecting thousands from oblivion, I mean, where do you go from there? How do you continue to write this character that can do all of these things? Doesn't it just make shit too easy? Like, you can't solve problems with this character because all he can do is just done. What do you do? Where do you go from there? So immediately after the Fantastic Four's return from Heroes Reborn, a time-displaced Valeria Von Doom appears at Pier 4. This teenage girl claims to be the daughter of Sue Storm and Dr. Doom from an alternate universe, a consequence of Franklin Richards' unconscious use of his powers to save his sister. This event not only gave Franklin a sister, but also set the stage for major developments that reshaped the entire Richards family. So following Sue Storm's miscarriage in 1984, Franklin instinctively used his nascent uncontrollable powers to retrieve his stillborn sister from the time stream and transport her to an alternate universe where she could be born and raised by a heroic Dr. Doom and Sue Storm. See, in that reality, Reed Richards dies. Like, she's the biological child of Sue and Reed, but he dies, and she marries a heroic Dr. Doom, and he raises Valeria as his own child, hence her last name being Von Doom. Got it? Now Sue is like, I married who? Oh, she like Scarlett O'Hara's over this, but she gets to see what her daughter would be like. After arriving in the main Marvel universe, Valeria initially introduces herself as Marvel Girl, a hero with energy manipulating powers in a costume that looks a lot like Doctor Doom's. Her arrival was an absolute shock to everyone, especially Sue, who was absolutely horrified that a version of her would marry a version of Vic. Valeria's arrival coincides with the imminent threat of the cosmic entity Abraxas, personification of destruction, who was, shock and surprise, dead set on destroying the multiverse. After the Silver Surfer turned his master's machinery against him and basically starved him to death, Galactus, the embodiment of balance in the universe, died. After his death, the destructive entity Abraxas was unleashed on the multiverse. After killing the Silver Surfer, Abraxas immediately began hunting down and killing alternate versions of Galactus across different realities while searching for the Ultimate Nullifier. The Ultimate Nullifier is one of the most powerful and dangerous artifacts in all of the Marvel Universe, capable of nullifying or erasing anything from existence, and it is inherently perilous to use because as an insufficiently focused wielder risks nullifying themselves along with their target. So if you are not careful when you use the Ultimate Nullifier, you can nullify everything, including yourself. With Abraxas having obtained the Nullifier and the Fantastic Four seemingly outmatched, Franklin and Valeria realized they had only one option: to restore the cosmic balance by resurrecting the universe's devourer of worlds, Galactus. With their celestial level cosmic powers combined, Franklin and Valeria worked together to reconstitute Galactus and restore his natural state. This act came at a tremendous personal cost, as it seemed to burn out yet again Franklin's remaining reality warping abilities, which he already depleted after creating the Heroes Reborn pocket universe. The newly resurrected Galactus is able to confront Abraxas and reclaim the Ultimate Nullifier, but a distraction causes the weapon to fall into Reed Richards' hands. With no other option, Reed takes the risk and uses the Nullifier on Abraxas, which resulted in the destruction and recreation of the entire multiverse again. As a result, the timeline was reset again, and all those killed by Abraxas were restored. That includes the Silver Surfer. Franklin Richards was yet again left without his immense reality warping abilities, which had been depleted from resurrecting Galactus. This is how the writers would keep being able to write Franklin. Anytime there would be a big event, he would be depowered, there would be a thing, he would get some powers, he'd use the powers, and then he'd be depleted again. If they needed to reset the universe, give Franklin some power, he uses it, depletes him, start all over again. He's back to being a normal kid. They would basically be forced to retire him every time they wrote about him because it just made it too easy. He was too powerful. What about the time displaced Valeria Von Doom? Franklin made sure that when all of this was going on, she got sent back to Sue's womb so that she could be reborn in the main Marvel continuity to her and Reed. She was born a second time. This time there were complications again, and Victor Von Doom was basically the midwife, but this time he was able to save her. After all of these years, Franklin was no longer alone. He's no longer a New York City lonely boy. This is why there is this theory that persists among fans that Franklin is the author, the shaper of the Marvel Universe. No one really stays dead unless you're Tony Stark's parents or Uncle Ben, and no one really ages, not since Franklin showed up. And the way he has created, destroyed, and recreated universes, and hardly any thought or a lot of effort to it. I mean, it holds a lot of water. Now, personally, my favorite, everyone's favorite Franklin Richards story is 2009 Jonathan Hickman's Fantastic Four run and the spin-off Future Foundation. And 2015's the Fantastic Four run is basically my favorite Marvel comics. It's just damn good storytelling. Jonathan Hickman has this amazing talent for bringing the humanity to these comic books. He adds these little relatable, mundane aspects to it that other writers tend to overlook in comics. Jonathan Hickman's run on Fantastic Four and Future Foundation reshaped the perception of the Fantastic Four from just a superhero family to these insane cosmic explorers and architects of the future. Franklin Richards is central, if not essential, to this story, as his godlike reality warping powers becomes a critical element in the multiversal plot. Hickman's story is this epic long-term saga that follows Reed Richards' ambitions to solve everything by looking into alternate universes and ultimately focuses on family and legacy. Following the events of Civil War, Reed Richards creates a bridge to access alternate universes and seeks out other versions of himself to solve all of existence's problems. He doesn't realize that he's searching himself out. He just knows that he's talking to these disembodied voices, and it turns out to be other versions of himself. He finds the Council of Reeds, who have abandoned their families to pursue their goals, and joins them in their multiversal effort. However, the council is eventually annihilated by mad celestials, which drives 616 Reed to commit even further to his family. See, these Council of Reeds, not that altruistic. Yeah, they do some dirty stuff, man. Like, we're going to go out and solve everything. We're going to solve multiversal hunger and all this other stuff. But at the same time, they're like, part of the things we need to solve is evil doom. So they go around and they start collecting all the dooms in the multiverse that decided to be evil. And they put inhibitor collars on them, essentially lobotomizing them, and they keep them in the basement. And they also tell 616 Reed that you need to be able to really devote your entire focus onto this, the problem of everything. So you gotta ditch your family, dude. After the supposed death of Johnny Storm, the Fantastic Four's focus shifts from exploration to teaching the next generation. So Reed decides, I believe the children are the future. And he gets together all the smartest children in the world, which includes his kids, Avi, Leech, and a few others. He picks them because kids have imaginations and they're not bogged down by politics and all this stuff, and kids are the future. He forms the Future Foundation to help him solve the problem of everything. A recurring theme is the idea of legacy and passing the torch to the next generation. The story often juxtaposes Reed's detached intellectual approach with the emotional commitment of family. This is exemplified by the realization that staying with his family rather than abandoning them like the Council of Reeds did is the correct path. See, what had happened was, on Franklin's birthday, grown-up Franklin shows up from the future, wakes up kid Franklin's powers, and tells little kid Valeria that something's coming. Dr. Doom's the answer, and then dips out and goes back to a pocket universe and hangs out with his sister and his grandpa, Nathaniel Richards. And come to find out, Nathaniel Richards, Reed's dad, that was gone a lot, he left because a bunch of other Nathaniels like melded into a singularity to fight this being, this all-powerful being. And afterwards, they all developed the ability to manipulate time. Well, the TVA and Immortus found out about it. They were like, no. You can't have that. You can't have that. Only one of you can have that. So here's the thing. I'm going to call this the Great Hunt. Everyone kill each other. And so they all start chasing each other across the multiverse, different timelines, and killing each other off. Franklin figures this out. He puts all these pieces together. And when his grandpa comes back from killing off the last one, he basically gets rid of his grandpa. He's like, all of this is your fault because boys need their dad, especially my dad. My dad needed a dad. And all of those Reed Richards and the Council of Reeds, they didn't have dads because of you, because you went around killing all of their dads. If you hadn't done that, we wouldn't be in this situation right now. He and Valeria are in this pocket dimension, and this pocket dimension is supposed to protect them from this wave of destruction that's coming throughout the whole multiverse, but it doesn't really, because Franklin's own powers kind of work against him, and then they, kind of fall into this wave of destruction. We don't see them till the end. Franklin is not just Reed and Sue's son, but a fundamental force in the multiversal narrative. His immense power sets up the most epic conflicts and eventual resolutions in Hickman's story and beyond. Even at a young age, Franklin is one of the most powerful beings in the universe. He's classified as a beyond Omega level mutant, and his reality manipulation powers make him a being of immense importance and concern for cosmic entities.
For instance, later in Hickman's Secret Wars, when Norman Osborn storms the Baxter Building with designs on kidnapping Franklin actually makes real bullets appear from his toy cap gun to protect himself and younger sister Valeria.
In the final confrontation against the Mad Celestials, because the Mad Celestials are going around and conquering all these universes and forcing the inhabitants of these universes to worship them, because they now consider themselves actual gods that should be worshipped. Adult Franklin absorbs the powers of his younger self, so he has double the crazy amount of beyond Omega level classification powers that he has. It's insane. He resurrects Galactus again and makes him his own Herald.
He even punches a Celestial in the head and completely obliterates it with that one punch.
But in this ultimate confrontation with the Mad Celestials, the adult Franklin restores the incapacitated Galactus to his full power, allowing them to fight the Mad Celestials together and ultimately destroy them. This shows Franklin's immense power, enabling him to affect and control cosmic beings. Franklin's ultimate importance is revealed in this climax that culminates in Secret Wars. All of Jonathan Hickman's stories are connected. Central to rebuilding the entire multiverse. During the final moments of the multiverse in Secret Wars 2015, Franklin Richards, Reed Richards, and the Molecule Man were the only 3 beings to survive absolute total destruction. Franklin's reality warping abilities combined with the Molecule Man's unique cosmic powers and Reed Richards' intellect were essential to restoring the entire multiverse. After his death on Battleworld, the Molecule Man's power was transferred to Reed Richards during the final confrontation with Doom. The original multiverse gone, the task of recreating all of existence fell to these 3 survivors. Franklin used his godlike reality warping powers to think up the new universes. He essentially became the artist, creating the blueprint, imagining the new realities. As Franklin conceived each of the new universes, it was the Molecule Man who now had the full power of his many versions, who would infuse a piece of himself into each of it, making it real and anchoring it to the newly forming multiverse. The act of recreating the multiverse had significant consequences. The Fantastic Four effectively spent years outside of time and space traveling and restoring reality. The Earth they returned to was slightly different, with some timelines and characters being merged or slightly rewritten to fit the new continuity. See, again, Franklin is used as a plot device to clean up convoluted timelines in Marvel Comics. The process significantly drained Franklin's powers again. Upon returning to Earth, he appeared to be a regular boy again and eventually put mental blocks up on himself to hide his remaining abilities. Some cosmic entities, like the Collector, noticed the shift in the cosmic order, but for most inhabitants of Earth, it was like nothing happened. After this central role in recreating the multiverse following Secret Wars, Franklin Richards saw him suppress his own reality warping powers to hopefully live a normal life. However, his status as a mutant and the origins of his power became a bit of a point of contention within the narrative, especially in the context of the Krakoan age of X-Men. Upon the Fantastic Four's return to Earth 616, after their long journey rebuilding reality, Franklin came back as a teenager. Finally, his powers, exhausted from the massive effort, appeared to be gone again. It was later revealed, however, that Franklin had deliberately suppressed his own powers in an effort to live a more normal, ordinary childhood. This led to a period of him living as a regular human teenager, relying on his family for protection instead of his own immense cosmic abilities. With the rise of the mutant nation Krakoa, Franklin's status as one of the most powerful mutants in existence put him in the middle of X-Men politics. The X-Men invited him to join their new sovereign nation, seeing him as one of their own. Of course, his family resisted this. He's a teenager. No, you cannot leave home. No, you cannot become an expat and join the Krakoan nation. They wanted him to stay there with them. This came to a head in the X-Men Fantastic Four crossover in 2020, in which Franklin was a young teen caught between his family and his found family in the X-Men. The conflict over Franklin's allegiance and the nature of his powers was ultimately resolved with another retcon. It was revealed via telepathy when Franklin was trying to get through the gate into Krakoa and it wouldn't let him in. Professor X contacted telepathically and said, "So you were never truly a mutant." What? He had subconsciously used his reality warping powers to give him the X gene because he wanted to feel special. He wanted to be a mutant. The loss of his mutant status, coupled with his depowering, marked a significant shift in Franklin Richards' continuity, refocusing his story away from his godlike power and back towards his identity as a member of the Richards family. He was now a regular teen navigating high school, but still living with the legacy of his family and his family's incredible history. After the events of Secret Wars and his subsequent conflict with the X-Men, Franklin decided he wanted to experience normal childhood. And who could blame him after everything he's been through? He took a few steps to make sure this happened. He suppressed those powers subconsciously, and he believed them to be gone. He even altered his own genetics subconsciously to make it appear as though he was a depowered human mutate. He established those mental blocks so effective that, again, even he and everyone else around him totally believed that his powers were completely gone. Despite his desire for normalcy, Franklin built in a failsafe for the greater good. Once a year, the mental block temporarily lifts, and Franklin regains his full godlike powers and memory of his true cosmic self. During this brief period, he scans the multiverse for potential threats and intervenes subtly when necessary to prevent catastrophes such as diverting invisible asteroids that are undetectable to other systems. After his work is complete, the mental block reestablishes itself and he forgets his yearly actions until next time. While this plan is effective, it was not foolproof. In one instance, a villain named Nicholas Scratch, the son of Agatha Harkness, was aware of Franklin's annual power burst, managed to undo his actions, forcing the Fantastic Four to intervene and fix the problem the hard way. This reminded Franklin that he could not always save the world alone, even with temporary omnipotence. As Powerhouse, as he calls himself, once a year, the young Franklin Richards primarily operates as a subtle behind-the-scenes cosmic janitor, so to speak, rather than a conventional superhero facing and fighting major villains. His annual intervention is designed to fix potential cosmic catastrophes before they ever even come to fruition, often making his own work invisible to the rest of the universe. Instead of confronting threats head-on, Franklin uses his immense reality warping powers to make minor adjustments that have monumental consequences for cosmic stability. He uses a precognitive ability to foresee disasters and slightly move things to avert catastrophe. This approach avoids drawing attention to his secret yearly recovery of power and allows him to fix potential problems while still maintaining an outwardly normal teenage life. However, his work ensures the universe continues to function smoothly. Right now, that's where we're at with Franklin. He only uses his powers once a year, and then he's depowered, and he totally forgets about it, making him a totally normal teenage boy in the meantime. I think he is an incredibly interesting and crazy character, and he has so much potential, not just in the comics, but can you imagine what the MCU can do with him? Like, what can they possibly do with him in the movies? Are they going to totally nerf him? I have no idea. They did show him already bring Sue back to life. Only time will tell what the plans are for Franklin in the MCU. They basically brought a god tier level mutant into the MCU, and I'm just like, I don't know what to do with it. But that's all I got for you guys today on Franklin Richards and my Franklin Richards inspired look. Again, if you're interested in whatever I used on my visage, it is in the description below, as are some recommended reading for you on Franklin. Highly recommend. Some great stories, especially the Jonathan Hickman ones. Masterpiece. The man's a genius. But be good, guys. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and ring that notification bell so you get notified whenever I'm back with even more of this nonsense. But stay nerdy, babies. I'll see you in the next one, and keep your eyes peeled, because
Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are gonna get you!
From sci-fi dreams to super real schemes, she's the queen of comics and everything in between. Makeup brush in one hand, pen in the other, crafting worlds like no one's ever discovered. Sci-fi writer, pinch creator, going alive on stream, there's no one greater. Comics and everything, we dive so deep into stories and the secrets that the nerds all keep. Comics and everything, the chat's alive. Monday through Friday, Danny provides the vibe. Superheroes, villains, fantasy lore. Every day there's something new to explore. From Star Wars stars to Marvel fights,